Hi everyone, this is Suman from Decode Now. Welcome to the lecture series on building a Spring Boot application to perform basic CRUD operations. In the previous video, we saw on how to create a controller class. We also learned about various annotations like REST controller and request mapping. So let's take a look at our to-do list. Creating a controller class is now completed. And the next thing we have to do is creating a post endpoint. So in this video, we'll create a post endpoint. For that, let's come to our code. In the personal details controller class, we'll be creating this particular post HTTP method. If you remember a few videos back, we said that when the user sends a request, it comes to our controller class, and from our controller class, we will be calling our service class. In order to be able to call the service class, we will have to do something called dependency injection. That is, we will have to inject the service class inside our controller class. That can be done with the special annotation called auto-wired. So let's have a brief look on what is auto-wired annotation. The auto-wired annotation is used in Spring Framework to automatically inject dependencies in class. So as soon as I say at auto-wired and say something like public and mention my service class name, which is the personal details service, then now all the methods that is present in the personal details service class will be automatically injected to my personal details controller class. So that is the power of this annotation at auto-wired. It reduces the manual bean wiring and allows for more flexible and maintainable code. So all those manual bean wiring code and the extra stuff is now reduced. It's hassle free, and now we can just mention this auto-wired annotation and everything will be automatically injected within the class. So now we have the personal details service auto-wired in the controller class. Let me create one method where we will be saving the details. So for that, I need to save the details in the repository, which is our personal details repository. So in order to do that, I need to auto-wire personal details repository inside personal details service class. So earlier what we did was in the controller class, we auto-wired the service class. But now inside service class, we'll be doing something like auto-wired private personal details repo. So now inside the service class, we are injecting the personal details repository. So this about auto-wiring repository inside service and auto-wiring service inside controller. Now we need to create a post endpoint. For that, we will be using one annotation called at post mapping, and inside we'll say something like /add. So what does this post mapping annotation do? So post mapping annotation is used to map HTTP post request. So if we want to add something or submit some data, we will be using a post HTTP method. So whenever it is a post HTTP method, we will be using this annotation at post mapping. So whenever a user wants to add some data, they will say /details /add and then send the request. So this is all about post mapping. Let's go to the code. I'll create a method called let's say public, and the return type of this particular method would be string, and then the name would be something like add details, and inside the parameters we should take request body. Suppose if the user wants to add personal details like first name, last name, which we have mentioned, they have to send the data to us. That we will be receiving by annotation called request body So let's learn what is this request body annotation. So request body annotation is used to retrieve the request body for an HTTP request. So whenever a user wants to send some data to be added or submitted in our database, then this request body annotation is used in the controller method. So it is commonly used when we want to extract and process data sent by the client in the request body. So the client sends the data that has to be added in the request body, and that data we can get by using this at request body annotation. So the data type of this particular request body would be our model class, which is the personal details, and I'll just give it the name as personal details itself. So this is the method which we will be using to add data to our personal details table. So earlier, if you remember, when we were discussing about the REST controller, there was something called at controller as well. So when at controller is used, we'll have to manually mention something like at response body at the method level. So add details is the method and we have to mention it explicitly. So let's say if I have 5 methods, and for all the 5 methods I have to mention this at response body annotation. So in order to avoid that, we are using at rest controller instead of controller, which is the combination of controller as well as the response body at the method level. So now we should be able to call personal details to add the data which is sent in the request body. For that, we don't have any method present in our service class. So let's create a method in our service class. Let's say public, and the return type is it does not return anything. It just saves the data in our repository or the database. I'll just give the name as add details itself, and we are expecting a parameter which is personal details, and the name would be just personal details again. And now what I need to do is, since I've already auto-wired the repository, I just have to say personal details repo dot. There is a method. As soon as I entered dot, you could see there was a method called save. I'm just selecting that, and I'm passing the personal details which I have received in this parameter and ending it with a semicolon. So what this is doing is, it is in this personal details repo, it is saving the personal details parameter which was sent from the user in the request body. So how did I get this method save? This was done with the help of JPA repository. So JPA repository inbuilt provides this particular save method. So without any extra code, I could make use of that particular method. So in the controller class, I would just say something like personal details service dot the method name, which is the add details method, and it is expecting a parameter of type personal details, and that would be the personal details which is present in the request body. So I would be passing that, and the return type of this particular method is string. So I would say something like return success. So this is the post endpoint that is used to add a personal details to our personal details repo. So user sends a particular request, it comes to our controller. We have auto-wired the personal details service class in our controller class, and using which we are calling a method called add details and sending the personal detail data which is present in the request body. And in this method we have auto-wired the personal details repo, and we are, with the help of JPA repository, we are saving that particular data which was sent as one of the parameters. And after this, it comes back to controller and it returns success. So this is the post endpoint. So this is all for this video. In the next video, we'll be downloading Postman and also check whether our particular endpoint, post endpoint works properly or not. So if you have learned something new, please do subscribe to our channel and support us. If you have any questions, requests or suggestions, please do let us know in the comment section below. Don't forget to like the video. See you in the next video.